Hello, this is Randy. Welcome back to Brain Break with Randy. I wanted to tell a story that I think some of you might enjoy. When I was a young man, I was probably in my early 20s, I was called to be a scout leader for a group of, I think there was almost 20 young men that were 16 and 17-year olds. We lived in El Paso, Texas. We'd moved there a year or two before. We were buying a house, and I had a job working for Procter and Gamble, where I traveled for their food service and lodging products division, and I covered West Texas and about, I guess, about half or so of New Mexico. A lot of it was rural, but as becoming this scout leader, I had a interesting experience in scouting as a boy. My scout leaders were not overly committed, and what I had been asked to do was to work with these boys and keep them busy and out of trouble. And if we could move them farther towards getting their awards, that was great. But most importantly, let's help them with career exploration, understanding what college is for, what tech and technical school would be for. So when I first got there, I went just to observe, and we met in a church, and the boys did nothing, all three age groups, because we had the Boy Scouts, which were 12 and 13-year-old boys, and then we had the varsity scouts, which were 14 and 15-year-old boys, and then the explorer age boys, which I had 16 and 17-year-old boys. And all they did was play basketball. They literally, you couldn't get them away from playing basketball. Now, you got to understand, I'm old enough that this is before video games and Walkmans and things like that. So basketball was good entertainment, and but it wasn't getting them any further towards career exploration and my group situation or high adventure for some of these other groups. So I gave it some thought, and on my car I had a anti-theft device, which was called a Gorilla Grip, and it was kind of a unique equipment. You'd put it on the steering wheel and you'd lock it in place. But the key to it had four different sides, and they said it was unpickable. I don't know if that's true or not, but I know at the time it was rather intimidating because of that. So anyway, I went to a store and bought a couple of those and put them over the basketball hoops, and I kept the keys hidden in the back of one of my drawers at home. And so the next week, when we had our scout meetings, the boys came in with their basketballs and were ready to play, and they couldn't play because this steering wheel lock was over the top of the basketball hoop, and they couldn't shoot the basketball. Well, fairly soon we got their attention, but I noticed that when I took those down, they went right back to playing basketball. So I I went into the building when no one else was around, and I finally did get caught by the janitor of the building. At that time, our buildings had a single janitor that was responsible for the whole building. It was a full-time job, and he caught me. But I swore him to secrecy, and he said he wouldn't say a word, even though he had a couple of boys in scouts, though they weren't in my group. And he was a good friend for not letting the cat out of the bag. So, to make a long story short, by taking away their basketball, we got them interested. Now, what I did was I gave a survey to the boys I worked with. And I said, "What is it you want to do? What do you want to learn about?" Well, they wanted to learn how to do basic maintenance on a car. I figured I could help them with that. And they also wanted to do ride alongs with law enforcement, both local and federal. And we helped them with that. and saw some really interesting things working with customs and border protection, uh, working with Border Patrol. We even got to do some stakeouts with the FBI, which was incredible. In fact, an FBI agent um, took these boys, including myself, uh, rappelling at a National Guard reservation. And then he took us around to places that the FBI practiced, and it was incredible. I mean, here we had 16 and 17-year-old boys, and they'd always say I wanted to go first. And I didn't want to go first, but I did. So whether it was water skiing or diving off the highest dive in the swimming pool, or going head head down when rappelling, uh, Australian style, I I was always first, and I really enjoyed working with those boys. It was fun to see how successful they've become over the years, and some of them are just the most amazing fathers and grandfathers now. And I'm excited to have had that experience. I'm glad that somebody trusted me enough to do that. But anyway, sometimes when we take away the opportunity to do something mindless like playing basketball, better things can come from it. Those boys got closer together. They learned to think about each other, to pray for each other, and to want each other to be successful. And that never would have happened if they kept playing basketball just to play it. And they weren't playing on a team or anything. It was just to shoot baskets, dribble up and down, and take a shot when there was one. So, getting back to the Gorilla Grip, I left those on for over 6 months after they were on the second time. And I mean, they brought in locksmiths to try and remove them. And I never helped. And all I knew was they'd tell me, well, we brought a locksmith in, they couldn't get them off. And I don't know if they really couldn't get them off or the locksmiths weren't that good. But I was happy because I knew I didn't have to worry about the boys just wanting to play basketball instead of doing the activities we had planned. And so it became a good experience. We went camping once a month, and they had not been camping in years. And we took them on small hikes, uh, but most importantly, we had men come along and cook amazing meals for these kids, young men. And whether it was steaks or Mexican food, uh, or even foil packed dinners, the meals were amazing. And I am so glad that I had that opportunity to do that when I first was a young man in El Paso. I ended up spending over 31 years as an adult leader in the Scout program. And while as a Boy Scout, I made it as far as Life Scout. And I was lacking a few merit badges to get Eagle and never accomplished that. But as an adult leader, I had all kinds of wonderful opportunities. I was able to go to Wood Badge back in the day, and then I also was able to um, teach at Wood Badge, be a staff member. And one of the last things that happened before I was released and did other things after those 31 years is I was able to be receive my Silver Beaver Award, which is a pretty high award. In the area I received it in here in Mesa, Arizona, it's very difficult. The person that gets it usually has been in scouting for 30 years or so. And I was honored to have my name put forward and to receive that. So lots of times great things happen because of small ideas. But I thought you might get a kick out of the Gorilla Grip and blocking the basketball standards so they couldn't play basketball enough to try something else, which they actually enjoyed. And I don't know how to apply that in today's world, but sometimes I wonder if we don't have kids spending too much time playing video games. I, as a substitute teacher, I have kids to talk to me about, oh, I'm going to go and spend the whole weekend playing video games. And I know that I enjoy visiting with my grandkids. I love watching movies with them. I love reading to them. I love swimming in the pool with them. And I love taking them places and doing things together and even cooking for them. But watching them play video games, that's not something that helps me get to know them any better. So I'm not all that interested. But I know some people do that. So again, thank you so much for joining me for Brain Break with Randy. And I hope that you have a great evening. And please like and subscribe. Tell your friends about Brain Break with Randy. And hopefully we can make this better. I've got about 30 or 40 more topics I'm going to go over. And hopefully you'll be patient enough to bear with me. Again, thank you so much. Have a great day.